Welcome to HODL That Thought, your weekly cryptocurrency podcast presented by Crypto Finder. HODL That Thought will guide you through the crazy world that is cryptocurrency, as seen through the short-sighted eyes of your hosts Marc, Adam and Liz. We're focused on providing information and entertainment. We're not a securities dealer and we're not encouraging you to trade. Cryptocurrencies are volatile and unpredictable, so get advice rather than acting on anything we say. Read our disclaimer, understand our approach, and then sit back and enjoy our podcast. You might learn something. Stranger things have happened.
Hello and welcome to HODL That Thought, the podcast about Bitcoin and everything in between.
Go on, name other altcoins.
Yeah, the problem is, Marc, you say Bitcoin and everything in between. In between Bitcoin and what?
In between
Bitcoin and a hard place?
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
That works. My name is Marc. I forgot to introduce myself. And with me, as always, do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
We've forgotten our names.
Yes, I have. It's been a long week for reasons which Adam wants me to go into on the podcast, but I don't know if I should.
No, we will. But this is Marc and everything in between. So.
Yeah, so I'm Elizabeth and this is Adam.
Oh, thanks for introducing.
No worries.
Don't introduce yourself,
I was
Adam.
just trying to prove that I knew all about it.
Today we have an awesome episode planned. We are going to be playing one of our interviews with Giorgio Mandolfo, who is a sysops engineer at the IOTA Foundation. So it was a pretty interesting chat. Liz and I grilled him.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy, wow.
Really
We
used all our cryptocurrency knowledge to really grill him.
which was about 1%.
Yes.
I tossed some softballs.
Yeah, it was a complete softball.
No, yeah, it was a really great interview and I'm excited for you guys to hear it. So.
Cool. So, Marc, how have you been? I've been concerned. We were supposed to record this podcast a couple
2 days ago. Yeah.
Yes.
And it didn't happen. And I'm interested to hear why it didn't happen. How are you, I'm genuinely concerned for your well-being.
So I'll regale you with the tale, Adam. Seems that you'd like to know. But my stomach was in a serious case of the crypto lows. So actually, we had a barbecue with my friends, and there was probably about like 15 of us, and there's probably now about 5 of us that are sick. So
Struck down.
Wait, who cooked? Was it you?
Well, it wasn't me. The cook has been defensive.
But there's a potential culprit for this, isn't there?
Yeah, I think just general weak stomach.
No. I thought that there was a potential that you were all stricken down by the humble rock melon.
Yeah, so that was consumed at the party, and there is an outbreak of some kind of rock melon infestation.
But you know what's interesting is that you could see a future in which blockchain could be used to trace all these different produce items back to their source.
What a nice
Very
link
good point.
you've made back to the topic we're meant to be chatting about.
Well, when I think about Marc
Sort of Marc's
having
stomach.
terrible gastric distress, like just this horrible intestinal distress, immediately my mind goes to how can this be applied to blockchain?
Yes.
That's where my mind went.
I'm glad to see that my misery is providing some kind of silver lining, to the world. But enough of my gastric problems.
Oh, we'll never
Please.
get enough of your gastric problems, Marc.
There's been a lot of comings and goings this week. Shall we head into a bit of news, moving the needle?
Yeah, that sounds great.
I recently took a look at building my own computer. Those astute listeners.
Now, let me just stop you there. When you say building your own computer, are you like buying pre-made components, or are you hewing it from a solid piece of marble?
It's a natural Amish computer made out of marble.
Marble
That's right.
computer.
Yes.
Wind powered.
Exactly, wind powered with a bit of canvas in there for good measure.
Like a marble laptop, you're like trying to drag it in.
Yeah, it weighs 500 kilos.
Right.
And one of the key components of any computer is obviously the graphics card. So a bit of recent news. It's kind of been a problem actually for the last few months and well into last year. But graphics cards have actually increased in price to such a high degree now because they can also be used for mining, for all kinds of different cryptocurrency minings. But it's actually reached crazy proportions. So according to a story in PC Gamer, they're now selling graphics cards. You would only ever need 1, 2 max for a computer. They're selling them in packs of 6 now. So according to the story, it said, you know, take, for example, a listing of a 6-pack of this specific graphics card. It's called a 570. So they're selling this as a 6-pack for $3,695 plus $10.49 for shipping.
That's nothing to sneeze at.
No, definitely do not sneeze at this. So $617 per card. So I dug a bit deeper to find out a bit more about the problem. So graphics cards are really good at solving the mathematical puzzles that miners use to verify transactions on the blockchain, and therefore, you know, get a bit of the cryptocurrency as a bit of a reward. So at first, the expensive graphics cards sold out, and then the stock that, you know, got introduced into circulation was really expensive because so many people wanted it. So now some parts manufacturers and sellers are actually just flat out implementing restrictions on miners, because they buy, like, if you see some of the posts, they buy like 20 or 30 cards at any one time.
Wow.
When, like I said, usually you would buy one and build one computer system with it. So yeah.
Do they just burn them out? Like, how long do they last?
Apparently, so if anyone's seen a mining setup, actually I can bring one up on our nifty setup.
This is so technological.
It's pretty much just rows and rows of these cards just hooked up in, like, okay, so here we go here. So it's basically just rows and rows of graphics cards just hooked up. And, you know, obviously, like, over time, because a normal computer is turned off and then turned on the next day, it's used for X amount of hours, but these kind of just running all the time, yeah, obviously they die at a lot higher rate.
You know, and we spoke about last week how actually SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, has been sidelined by the lack of graphics cards, that they can't get the graphics cards they need anymore to continue our search for extraterrestrial life. So,
what's more important, Adam?
Cryptocurrency, alien life. I mean, that's all I'm
one
seeing.
of them we know exists.
It's just going to kill us anyway.
Like, one of them we're 100% sure exists, right? So, you know, maybe go with the one that you know for sure exists.
My question about that is, though, will it make computers more expensive?
Well, okay, so if you're building them yourself, yes. And in some cases, you can't even, so like I'm trying to build a computer and I can't right now unless I buy a pre-built system. And for some reason, there's like pricing controls on pre-built systems that are like, you know, just going to the store and buying it, that you might not pay that extra amount.
But once again, what if you whittle your own graphics card? Right?
So the Amish have apparently a handbook on creating computers.
On whittling graphics cards.
Yes.
Right.
Perhaps SETI could get in touch with the Amish.
That's what they need to do. If there's any kind of two matches made in heaven, it's the search for extraterrestrial intelligence and the Amish community.
Yeah, I mean, that's
like
quite
this
obvious.
It's just,
We'll
it's
use
like
our
peanut
powers
butter
to
and
put them-
chocolate, those two. And the great thing about taking a run at the Amish on a podcast is that they're just not going to know that you're doing it. So really, we can say whatever we want.
We're not going to alienate any
We're not gonna
Amish listeners.
Now, we might alienate alien listeners.
This is
but
true.
because, you know, we don't have the graphics card to reach out and find them, they're not going to hear either. So really, we can say whatever the hell we want about them too.
And plus,
like,
by the time they get this broadcast, even though we're not broadcasting, it'll be, you know, like maybe
we'll be long dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
They're a
that
bunch
makes me feel better.
I'm just going to go ahead and say, aliens are a bunch of ding-dongs. So
And fighting words.
you can take that to the bank right there.
You do this whole Adam.
Well, I found an interesting little tidbit that when I started reading it, I actually thought that it was going to be a story of our humorous section of news.
Cryptocurrency.
Cryptocurrency.
And then it quickly turned
Cryptocurrency.
macabre.
It was just depressing. No, it's actually really interesting. So there is a star on YouTube. His name is Phil DeFranco. He has 2.2 billion views on YouTube. And he's
that
actually...
is nothing to sneeze at.
That
No.
is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, and Liz
Yeah.
is sort of battling some flu here, so she's been looking around the office.
I've been
constantly.
sneezing a lot.
She's been looking for things
All
to
over
sneeze
Adam.
at. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's chosen me. Because like she asked earlier today, should I sneeze at Phil DeFranco? And
You're
No.
like,
Like,
no.
no,
And I was
no,
like,
no,
well,
no.
I need to sneeze. And you're right in front of me.
Yeah, so-
so
so I am something to sneeze at. This, however, is not.
So he started a new video streaming platform where the participants earn cryptocurrency. Yeah, so
that's cool.
Yeah, so the cryptocurrency is called props, and basically whenever you upload a video or stream a video, you earn a certain amount of props.
Props. Okay.
Yes.
What,
you get
what,
props.
what is the value? Wow.
Both metaphorically and
That's
Right?
how the kids are talking these days.
So he's looking to start this.
He's taking it to the streets where the kids live.
Yeah,
you know.
so it's like a decentralized video streaming service, and it's giving money back to the people that are using them. Because he said he's becoming, I'm not sure if this is the word he used, but kind of jaded by YouTube and how it's, you know, all ad sales and things like
Right.
that.
I think, didn't he say it's illin? Like,
He might have.
I'm giving props to the kids because YouTube is illin.
Probably. I mean,
all
that sounds
under
like him.
18-year-old listeners have now signed up.
That's right. What is a prop worth in fiat currency terms?
Well, he hasn't actually launched the cryptocurrency
Okay,
yet,
so we don't know
we
yet.
are yet to see the value.
Okay.
But it'll be interesting if people actually, you know, I think, well, obviously, the more people that get involved, the more valuable it'll be.
Sure.
So,
Interesting.
yeah, I think so.
Theoretically, it's a YouTube where the only participant not getting a payday is YouTube itself.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Interesting. How long
And then
will
YouTube will
be
invent its
okay
own
with that?
cryptocurrency
Yeah, the
called MOPS. And they'll be like, you know,
or tube
I think
coin.
I think they call it big ups.
ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Okay, so if you're headed down to the old newsagent, you're gonna buy your scratchy.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna buy some beef jerky.
Yep.
Gonna get yourself a Slurpee. You can now also get yourself some Bitcoin or Ethereum. Right. So there's right now there are 1,200 news agencies. Bitcoin.com.au has rolled out to over 1,200 news agencies around Australia, which means that you can head into the news agency, hand over some cash, and buy yourself some cryptocurrency.
You know what's funny? My local news agency has been selling Bitcoin for about a year.
What?
And that it actually does say that it's been available for a while, but they've just significantly expanded the number of locations. So basically, all you have to do is you scan a QR code, right? And you get yourself your Bitcoin or Ethereum, and you can pay for it all at the one time when you're getting the twisties and the like the
Birthday
maxi
cookies.
bun and stuff that you know you're already getting when you're drunk. Okay,
Definitely, yeah.
Liz?
It's the only time I visit news agencies.
Yeah, exactly. So
10 a.m. Saturday morning.
you are already getting this stuff. You might as well, get yourself some cryptocurrency.
Yeah, 100%.
I must live under a rock because I think the last time I went to a newsagent was probably like 5 years ago. What do you buy there?
Where
I
are
like
you?
Okay.
scratchies. Like $5.
Can you buy them anywhere else?
I only buy them, maybe every 6
mercy.
months.
Once a day.
But they are very fun.
Okay.
They
You
are
are-
very fun. You'd be surprised at how often I win like $5. So you get your money back.
I've always said this.
General
No
advice.
I
endorsement
have
here.
always said that you are the picture of class and sophistication.
Oh, 100%. You
Always
just
said
roll
that.
on in, as you said, grab some twisties.
Yeah, you're
Grab your scratchy.
hungover. You get
Yeah.
your twisties, your scratchy, your Bitcoin.
And I mean, most people go in and they say, oh, I just want a $5 scratchy. But I have a look at which game I want to play and which prize I actually want. So I say, I want the Live the Life one, obviously.
do
you want to
you
live
look
the
at
life?
the line of them and say,
Yeah.
I want the third one on that? Like,
I would like a winning scratchy if you could. Yeah, I mean, you could make that joke, and I do.
all right. They love you, honestly.
Yeah.
You know what? I bet you walk in and they're like, she's going to be a fun customer. I can see it. Like this, she's going to be a hoot.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I bet she's going to say something really funny.
And I
you do. And their day is brightened.
Exactly.
Interesting. Well, shall we move on to a bit of cryptocurrency and talk about all the funny things that have happened in recent weeks?
Yeah, I'm tired of talking about all this dire, terrible stuff.
Adam and I both are proponents of the apocalypse.
Yeah, we are waiting with bated breath, I would
Yes.
say. Like
To die.
Well, no, to live in a post-apocalyptic wasteland.
Okay.
Like Marc and I, we've got very clear plans. We've really thought this through, and we feel like we would flourish in a
Yes.
post-apocalyptic wasteland. Like, because frankly, I've always wanted fashion to take a turn where we all dress like extras from a Twisted Sister video. And that's everything I've seen about the post-apocalypse, that's basically what you do. You wear your, your jock strap and your spiked,
Yes.
your spiked like shoulder pads and your hockey mask, and it's like that's what I want. That's where I want
That's where you
fashion
want
to go.
every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So we might be one step closer.
Oh, thank goodness.
No. So obviously, nuclear facilities are spread around quite a few countries around the globe. Some of them are in Russia. So engineers at a Russian nuclear facility were actually caught trying to hook up one of the supercomputers to the internet to mine Bitcoin. So,
That's just a good idea, though.
Yeah.
Like,
so the facility actually houses the 12th most powerful computer on the globe, which has a capacity of 1 petaflop, I think.
that sounds very dirty.
That's very made up.
Okay, so a high-end graphics card from 2016 has about 1.6 teraflops of power. So this has 1 petaflop.
Are you making it up though?
Yes.
Petaflop.
Fake news.
I feel uncomfortable. I don't know why, but when you say it, I feel uncomfortable.
Petaflop.
Please don't.
Petaflop.
So wait, that's obviously in Russian?
The petaflop?
Yeah.
I think that's
No,
like
that's
a
just a
measurement
computer
of
measurement.
Because I was going to say,
computing power or something.
I was going to say, even if it's in another language, it still sounds a bit silly. Like, you know what I mean? The like
Let me
flop
double check that I'm
just
saying
sounds
it
like that. It doesn't sound like a unit of measurement.
Right,
Like it's
yeah.
just kind of that weird
Okay,
sound.
no,
Yeah,
a
like-
flop is a unit of computing
It's-
speed.
Oh my
That's
gosh,
actually
that's
it's actually
in-
pronounced. So,
It's a floating point operations per second. Somehow I
Okay,
realized, I think
it's an
not-
acronym.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense.
all right.
Okay, I
I'm
probably
okay
should
with
have said
this.
that,
Please
yeah.
continue.
Yeah, that was the real point of this story.
Yes.
I apologize.
So this has about 1,000 teraflops of power, okay?
I believe it's pronounced Terra.
It's flopping all over the place. So they were caught trying to connect it to the internet, and it wasn't connected to the internet for security reasons. So this supercomputer obviously has other jobs to do, apart
Like
from
not kill everyone
Yeah.
with nuclear energy.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly it was controlling, but yeah, so, Russia's obviously going through a crypto boom right now. One Russian businessman, Alexei, I'm going to butcher this name, so apologies in advance, Kolesnik, has just bought 2 power stations for mining, just for mining. So,
Wow.
So it's taking the country by storm.
Oh.
Yeah,
Well, so might radiation.
yes.
They're not careful.
Teraflop.
Terra.
Well, I found something pretty exciting, guys.
Speaking of Russia.
Speaking of cryptocurrencies, I don't know how to segue this. So.
No, it is. Speaking of Russia, actually, is a great segue for what you're about to go into. But
Okay, so there is a new global ambassador for a new cryptocurrency called Bitcoin to Gen. Bitcoin 2Gen, I assume. Buddhist Zen master Steven Seagal.
Oh, I love Steven Seagal.
yeah, like Buddhist Zen master.
I hope that
like,
love it.
can we?
I have to say, I read like
For a
3
moment, can we
stories.
step back and not refer to, like, could we say has-been movie star and hilarious runner, Steven
Yes.
Seagal?
Every story I read on this, and there was about 3 or 4, like preempted his name with Buddhist Zen teacher or master or something like that, Steven Seagal.
Guy who can beat you up with a cue ball in the end of a sock.
Sure.
That's, yeah.
So yeah, basically he has confirmed that he's the global ambassador for a new cryptocurrency called Bitcoin to Gen. And I just kind of want to read you a little bit of the media release.
It's going to be straight bonkers.
Okay.
I'm assuming. Because it's
I hope
Steven
it is.
Seagal.
Oh, good. Yeah, strap yourselves in. As a Buddhist, Zen teacher, and healer, Stephen lives by the principles that the development of the physical self is essential to protect the spiritual man. He believes that what he does in his life is about leading people into contemplation, to wake them up and enlighten them in some manner. These are precisely the objectives of the Bitcoin to Gen, to
Wow.
empower the community by providing a decentralized P2P payment system within its own wallet.
I mean, the connection between those two things is so clear that it's like almost, even by explaining it, it's like you're beating us over the head with it. It's
I
like,
know,
we get it, Steven Seagal. Zen Buddhism and cryptocurrency, hand in hand, like the Amish and SETI.
So for people who are
is
curious,
crazy.
Bitcoin to Gen uses the Ethereum blockchain and a P2P payment system, peer-to-peer obviously, that is the same as Bitcoin's, according to their website as well. So the white paper and this is Cointelegraph saying this, their white paper does not explain these systems, claiming doing so would be redundant since it has done so by Satoshi Nakamoto.
Right,
Wow.
as is, it's redundant to explain the link between Zen Buddhism and cryptocurrency.
Exactly.
Like,
Would you classify Steven Seagal as a healer though? Like, isn't he the opposite?
he really is. It's like what he's really healing is your bones all being like, you know, connected to each other.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm
'Cause-
just happy that he's promoting something.
Yeah,
else apart from energy
you know what?
drinks.
It's just nice he's getting out of the house.
Can we
Yeah.
just appreciate the photo?
It's great.
Yeah.
He looks so
And
peaceful.
could we just real quick, Mark? Could you call up so everyone can see? Can you just call up a video of him running?
I would love to do that.
Yeah, because I feel like
Steve.
I don't know
I
what
feel
you
like
mean
we
about him
can't
running.
really talk about Steven Seagal in any kind of serious way without at least once watching him run. It is honestly it's gonna be a thing of beauty.
Runs.
Here he comes, guys. Get ready. This is Buddhist healer. Look at him go.
He
Look at
doesn't
him go,
very
guys.
Streamline.
Look at him go. That right there, that's your global ambassador. Right now, he's chasing down fiat currencies. And fiat currencies are running like their hair's on fire and their ass is catching because Steven Seagal is after them. Look at him go. Look at the way his arms flop about like a puppet's might, right?
Ooh, I like this one.
There's
He's kind of
several
like
shots of
Like,
him.
Whoa.
if you were to stick a bottle rocket up the chute of an unstrung marionette, it would move exactly like that.
I love that contemplative, sitting atop of the mountain pose as well.
Well, he is a
I'll leave it like that.
He's a Buddhist healer.
That's a great backdrop for our podcast.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, you know who needs to be afraid around Steven Seagal is any criminal, right? Any criminal, they know that if Steven Seagal's around, the hurting is coming, right? And he's going to chase them down the street with his arms flailing around wildly. However, criminals, when they do their dirty business, they avoid detection by Steven Seagal by dealing oftentimes in cryptocurrencies, right?
Very true, yep. Privacy.
Unfortunately for many people,
Well, Marc knows.
yeah, unfortunately for many people, criminals are turning their back these days on Bitcoin.
Oh, that's
Right.
not nice.
So Bitcoin used to be kind of the the common currency of things like online drug transactions and just terrifying things that you really shouldn't be doing. But the anymore basically, people are turning their back on it because there's a couple things. One is the extreme volatility in price, right? So because it's kind of surging and collapsing, that means all the drugs you're buying might not be like you might be paying way too much for your drugs.
I hate that.
And yeah, I mean, we know, Liz. So I mean, obviously it surged 1,300% last year, and it's fallen by more than half of that.
Wow.
So it's just moving all around. But then also on top of that, countries, investigative agencies, and things like that are getting way, way better at actually tracking the transactions. And so we spoke about this before on the previous iteration of this podcast that criminals were more and more moving away from Bitcoin, and they're moving to other cryptocurrencies. So I guess sad day for Bitcoin.
So they're actually getting better at tracking their transactions.
That's right, yeah.
I wonder if that would be because of the wallets and things like that and becoming...
It could be, because
Yeah.
it's becoming a more legitimate form
Yeah.
of exchange.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's
But
very interesting.
when we spoke about this on the previous iteration of this podcast, we found out that a lot of criminals were moving to other options like Ether and Monero, right? And
I think it'd be funny if you had like a really serious gang and they offered to pay in like Dogecoin.
or Bitcoin 2Gen.
Like Steven Seagal's backing it. It's fine.
But that, honestly, people, you would think that they would give that as wide a berth as possible because they'd be like, we do not want to run afoul of Steven Seagal.
This is very true.
Yeah, do you reckon that Steven Seagal monitors all the transactions? He's like, my senses are tingling.
He's like, my Steven Seagal senses are tingling. It's time for me to spring into action.
Exactly. So good.
Very interesting. Well, I suppose, you know, criminals need to watch what they're spending or how they're spending too. Do they?
This is why good old bartering. Good old bartering is great for criminal activities.
Another reason why the apocalypse might do everyone some good.
Well, at that point, you know, laws as we know them collapse, so there really is no, you know...
There is a law of the jungle.
There's no rule of law, besides law of the jungle, baby. And that's what that's where you and I come in, because I think that's where we really shine.
Fun fact, Adam and I have also discovered that the currency of the future will be toilet paper.
That's right.
Yeah.
We've said this for some time.
Oil or?
Jokes aside, apparently coffee would be one of the
Why?
primary because it would. I don't know. I've done no research.
People like it.
Yeah, that's true. I would. Yeah.
We can save it for another episode.
We'll have to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for cryptocurrency. Your cryptocurrency stories, everyone. Shall we play our interview with Giorgio and delve into IOTA? Liz and I we went from the ground up. We're obviously beginners, as we explained in the previous episode. So we're dummies. We're dummies. So that's putting beginners is putting it nicely. Yeah. So we tackled. So IOTA doesn't necessarily use the same underlying technology as other cryptocurrencies. It uses a technology called Tangle, which kind of eliminates miners. So it's really interesting to find out how it works. So Giorgio explains that. Also explains, you know, how IOTA has been received, what its kind of uses are, and his thoughts on 2018 in the crypto space generally. So yeah, let's play that, and we'll catch you again in, I don't know, about 15 minutes.
And also we'll try and sneak in like maybe 15 minutes of On Deadly Ground, just you can get some Steven Seagal in there. So stay tuned for that as well.
Today in the studio we have another treat. We have Giorgio Mandolfo, SysOps engineer at IOTA Foundation. Welcome to the podcast, Giorgio.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone.
We're really excited to chat to you. So Liz and I are beginners when it comes to the whole concept of cryptocurrencies and blockchain and the technologies that surround it. So when we did our research for IOTA, we were confused because it sounds like an awesome idea, but it's also, if you don't know how things work, it can be a little bit confusing.
I think the term I used to Marc was, I think my head is exploding when I was trying to understand it.
So maybe we can just start off, for those of us that kind of don't really know what IOTA is. What is it and how does it work?
Sure. Do you mind if I start by saying one thing? I believe the word that does not help is the word currency. I believe if we take the currency word out of this technology, at least at this stage, we'll probably be doing a better job at explaining to people what we're doing. So I think if we take the currency word, now we only have crypto. And even the word crypto by itself is quite cryptic.
Yes.
So let's take also the word crypto out of it. So what's left? How about we say it's a ledger? So each technology attempts, these technologies attempt at building a distributed ledger where trust is embedded in the protocol. Now, how does this work? Okay, let's say how does it work today? Say, for example, you have your own bank account. The bank keeps track of your transactions. So the bank is this centralized entity that we all trust, maybe.
Somewhat.
Depends on your bank.
Exactly.
Depends on your bank. So you have this centralized entity that keeps track of your transactions. So when things get in and out, you know what your balance is, and pretty much that's it. Now, these technologies attempt at building a ledger that is common to everyone, so everyone can have can have a list of all transactions that have happened since the beginning of time. Yet, and everyone can also write on these ledgers, and yet make the protocol itself makes sure that you cannot write something that is not true.
Right.
So I'll give you an example. We all have a piece of paper. We all have a piece of paper with our 3 names, and we go, okay, I send 10, whatever 10 is, to you. You send back 10 to me. I send 5 back to you, and so on. I cannot say, although I have the technical ability, I can say that you send 100 to him, or that you send 100 to me. But the protocol itself, despite everyone can write to these ledgers, to this ledger, the protocol will go, this is not true, this is impossible, this is false.
Right.
So all of a sudden, you have a bank that accepts your transaction because you have enough funds. This is in today's world. Now, all of a sudden, you have this ledger where everyone can write to it, but yet you can only write things that you can actually write, because you can only write transactions that you have actually made. Yeah. I'm not sure if that helps a little bit.
It does.
Yeah, that makes sense.
As you can see, yes. Then of course we can take it one step further, and we go, it's a currency, because now all of a sudden I send you 10 IOTAs instead of $10, and that's great. But I believe we should take the word currency at the very beginning when we want to understand what's going on. So this is the ultimate goal: having a common ledger distributed. That's why the word is distributed, where everyone can participate, and yet everyone can write to this ledger, but no one can commit any fraud or basically write false transactions on it.
Right. And the interesting thing about IOTA, of course, is that it's different to the blockchain or the ledgers that we kind of know of from, Bitcoin and other kind of cryptos, in that it uses Tangle.
That is correct, yes.
And Tangle's awesome. So I was looking up a bit about it, and it's kind of like, the way I understand it, it's sort of like, it doesn't actually include miners at all. It just kind of like I don't know. It's best if you explain it.
No, keep going, Marc. I want to hear you try
I'm digging myself a deeper hole in not understanding.
Okay, so Tangle is different because we can refer it to a blockchain with no block and no chain. As in, with current blockchain technologies, you have each block contains a certain amount of transactions in it, and each block is created every certain amount of minutes or seconds. The problem with that is, as more users come in, as more transactions come in, then you have a bottleneck, because you say, for example, you can fit, I'm just making this up for simplicity, you can fit 100 transactions every minute. Then it works great, but as soon as you have more than that amount, you will basically have pending transactions. So transactions that are waiting to be included into this block. And then there's an additional problem, and that is miners, which are the validators, have the ability to pick which transactions to include in the block. And the miner's purpose within the network is to keep the network secure, but the miner's purpose, like their actual purpose, is to make money. So given that in blockchain you have an implied fee, so I send you 1, you get 0.95, and 0.05 it goes to the miner. Then of course it starts to sort of creating a kind of a bidding thing, where only transactions with a higher fee get actually processed by the miner. So you may even end up with transactions that will never confirm, that will never actually get accepted, because the fee is now too low.
I've seen that. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So now back to the Tangle. The creators of this white paper of this protocol embedded these 2 entities in the network. So in a traditional blockchain, the entities are the people that use the network, so the actual users, and the miners. Miners are the validators, that basically their purpose is to make sure that the network is stable. So the Tangle brings these 2 entities into one group of people, just the users. So when you use the Tangle network, well, when you use the IOTA network, which is built on the Tangle, all of a sudden you participate as a user, but as a validator, because it's embedded in the protocol that when you create a transaction, so when you transact on the Tangle, you have to validate 2 previous transactions. So all of a sudden, the value of your transaction, as in not just the value when it comes down to the token value, but the value of the transaction in the Tangle is, yes, the purpose that the user wants to give to this transaction. I want to give you 100 something.
Yep.
But also it validates previous transactions. And according to me, that's beautiful because it enables transactions with no fee. There are no miners, no fee. And that also enables a lot more business cases and business users that, I don't know, maybe it's, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no, that's
truly
awesome.
truly user powered. It's super interesting. My question is, I mean, what's the reception been to this? Because, you know, when Bitcoin came out and people have just been embracing blockchain, you know, governments and, you know, ASIC and the ASX and everyone like that has been looking into blockchain, and you've kind of come out with this kind of, I guess, I don't want to call it a new blockchain, but a very kind of different way of looking at it. So yeah, how have people kind of been, what's the reception been like?
Well, I cannot really say what the reception has been like when it comes down to blockchain technologies, but I can say what I think about the reception, what I think about how actual companies are or may have been involved with blockchain. I believe the important part here is to distinguish between the blockchain technology and these cryptocurrencies.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the cryptocurrencies are built on blockchain. It's like saying IOTA and Tangle. So for example, you have Bitcoin, but how can someone create a product on top of it if you have to pay $5 each time that you transact on it?
Right.
So I believe, although I don't really, I'm not sure 100% simply because I'm not into any project in the blockchain space, but I believe companies are using the blockchain technologies to embed this technology internally. And if you ask me, that can just be like a database.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we can argue, and of course, you know, people, I'm pretty sure people can have some counter arguments to this, and that's absolutely perfectly fine. But my view is, okay, well, but if you embed the blockchain protocol into your product, but ultimately you own 100% of your nodes. So basically you own 100% of the network. Then all of a sudden, it doesn't matter whether it's a text file or whether it's a database or whether it's blockchain, you can write whatever you want on it.
Right.
Yeah.
So it kind of
And
defeats the purpose.
Yes.
Almost, yeah.
I think this is my view. This is my actual personal view on how someone may be integrating the blockchain inside their own organizations. Then, of course, you know, I believe the next argument is, okay, well, then open up your doors. So allow people outside of your organization to write onto blockchain ledgers. But then all of a sudden, I believe you hit the fee problem.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
why do you hit the fee problem? Because let's not forget, you need to keep the network secure. Who keeps network secure in a blockchain? The miners. So if you have miners spread around the world, literally thousands of whatever people, doesn't really matter, then you can say that it's decentralized. But if there are 3 miners or 3 entities controlling the mining power, well, then it just defeats the purpose, I think.
One question I did have was centralized versus decentralized. It sounds obvious, but I actually don't know. What does that actually refer to?
So I think to answer your question, we have to go back at the very first things that we said. So decentralized versus centralized ultimately is about who has and who controls what can be written on this ledger, and or who can censor what's on the ledger. Ledger, yes, we now refer to these ledgers when it comes down to actual transaction value, but it can just mean data in itself. So if you have an entity that can control what you can write, what you can spend, then it's centralized because someone can say, nope, I don't want you to do this. Whereas decentralized is no matter how many people are on the network, or it doesn't matter what people want. If you have the right to write this message, or if you have the right to send this transaction from A to B, it will get sent.
Yeah.
And in return, I cannot, as a participant of the network, I cannot prevent others to transact. Okay. I believe that's the core of decentralization.
Right. And then decentralized is obviously the opposite. So anyone can kind of do that then.
Yeah, exactly. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, that's awesome. And is the security of something like Tangle the same as something like blockchain?
Well, okay, without getting into too many details, also because I tell you the white paper is incredibly complex,
and I won't understand it anyways.
Look, I will probably understand 5% of it,
yeah.
Because ultimately, yes, I am, a technical person, but in my own field, in my own realm, which is not mathematics. So I won't go into those details, also because I don't have the capacity.
Makes me feel better about myself. But
I've heard about the white papers being really complex, some of them, and I'm like, I really hated maths in school, so I'm just going to stay away.
So the security in the Tangle versus or compared to other blockchain technologies, well, technically it's very different, but if we want to take just the participant in the networking involved and their purpose and how it works, I believe it's very, very similar. It's just that in the blockchain technology, you have miners, whereas in the Tangle, a user is a user and a miner just for a tiny fraction of time. Because as I said previously, when you transact on the Tangle, you need to validate to previous transactions. So the validation, which is just a very simple computational task, done automatically, of course, by whatever device you're using to transact, is actually what miners in a blockchain technology would do, again, without getting into the technical details. But from a conceptual level, you just move the miners from being, right now miners are basically multi-million-dollar warehouses full of computers. And that's, the bigger they get, because the required amount of power in order to keep the network secure increases, then the more centralized it gets. But this is probably another argument. Whereas in the Tangle, you become a miner just the moment that you want to transact for a very small amount of time, and when you validate previous two transactions, and that's it. But the security itself, from a generic standpoint, it's similar. Like you become a miner just when it matters, for a very small fraction of time, and then you're just done.
This may be a very stupid question, but are there ever people, obviously your transaction is only going to be confirmed when there's someone else that wants to transact. So are there delays, or is there any problem with volume? Or
Sure. So that's actually a very good question.
Oh, good.
Because
it's stupid at all, Liz.
Not a very good question, because as you said, in order to get your transaction confirmed, someone else has to transact again, and then, well, the protocol will randomly, very important word, but also very broad there as well, pick a transaction that is pending, that is unconfirmed, also known as tip, because it's at the tip of the Tangle, from a graph standpoint, because it's the outer side of the Tangle. Then someone has to validate your transaction, so your transaction will be pending up until someone else will confirm your transaction as well. Now, this may seem a problem, but if we look closely, it's actually a great thing, because it means that the network will get faster with more transactions. Whereas compared to other technologies, as we discussed before with the block and the bottleneck, if you have more transactions, it becomes slower. So right now, the technology is at its infancy, which means we have transactions, we have continuous transactions. Let's also not forget zero-value transactions. But imagine a world where more and more organizations, people, corporations start transacting on it. All of a sudden, the confirmation time, which is the amount of time that it takes for your transaction to be confirmed, thanks to another transaction entering the Tangle, will get so small that you won't even notice.
That's interesting, because there's all those problems with, and turning to Bitcoin, obviously the largest example, where it's having all those speed problems at the moment, because so many people are
trying to get on that.
I actually saw a story about someone trying to withdraw money from a Bitcoin ATM, and they
probably camped there for a week.
Yeah, and then they said that they wanted to withdraw $1, and then the transaction fees were like $40, so they had to put in another 10, and then the ATM company like just took the money, and then he kind of had to say, yeah, your transaction fees are actually so high that we can't
give you $10 worth of like 0.001 of a Bitcoin.
I'd like to just ask one final question, actually, which is, what's your kind of view on the landscape for, all these technologies and crypto, maybe not cryptocurrencies, but, Tangle and blockchain and the whole landscape? What do you think we're gonna see in 2018 more generally?
Let me think. There are probably two separate ways of seeing this, but they will happen both in parallel, I think, in 2018. The very first one is you will see a lot more people talking about it, a lot more people doing something about it, and that's great. But I also believe there will be a lot of projects that will attempt at doing something and then eventually, and it's just nature, it's just normal, eventually fail, but not because people fail, but because the technology may fail. And then I believe in 2018, there will be more consolidation on the top, again, this is just a number, top 3 projects that will actually solve real life problems. So I think there will still be a silo of other companies, cryptocurrencies, and just, the incredible amount of currencies that whatever they mean, that's fine. I think that's one side of it, and unfortunately, it's the one that makes the most of the buzz.
Right.
Unfortunately, whereas I would like to see the other silo, which is actual problem solving, and that I believe in the long run, and I don't think we'll see anything in 2018 yet. One silo will collapse, and only the actual technologies that will solve problem will basically stay there.
Yeah, that is really interesting. We recently spoke to Jamie Skeller from Horizon State, who's using the blockchain for voting, which I think is really a real interesting application of it. Well, awesome. So we'd like to thank you so much, Giorgio, for coming in. You've blown our minds. We are a bit smarter than we were when we walked in, I think.
Only slightly.
Yeah, no. Well, my head, I have a pretty thick skull, so it's going to take a while to get through. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right, so another big thank you again to Giorgio for coming in. We really enjoyed having him on. Hopefully when we're a little bit smarter, we can chat to him again and maybe cover a bit more ground.
Yeah.
That's assuming a lot about us.
I'm just really keen to see kind of about what happens with IOTA and Tangle in 2018, and maybe we can catch up with him like once there's more developments.
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously a lot is going to change. IOTA actually made a recent announcement, so yeah, it'd be cool to talk to Giorgio again about that.
Great.
But it's time to tackle Are You Broke Yet? So, Are You Broke Yet is our segment where we have been each given the measly sum of 100 Australian dollars, and we're going to be trading some cryptocurrencies.
Yes.
I'm putting all mine in Bitcoin to Jen. Because if it's good enough for Steven Seagal, then by God.
Yes. So, a bit of a disclaimer. Obviously, none of this should be treated as investment advice or advice of any kind.
Please don't follow
You've seen
our
us.
tips.
Yes. Even if this is your very first time listening to this podcast, if you've made it this far, you know that we are numbskulls, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
like you would run in the other direction, arms flailing wildly, as fast as you could, away from any advice we gave.
My trading decisions are going to be largely based off kind of liking names of coins and kind of whims and like how I feel in the moment.
100%. Mine's going to be emotionally driven and driven by which ones I think have hilarious names.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
That will be my strategy.
Yes. So we're each given $100. We're gonna from scratch choose what we're gonna buy. Figure out how to store them. None of us have any prior kind of knowledge about how that works.
We don't know how to do any of this. I don't even know how a computer works because I mean, as we've established, I think that you can whittle one. So we'll find out, I suppose, along the way. We'll baby steps. We'll be like, press the any key.
Yeah, so we're going to be kind of doing this over, the whole podcast pretty much, and updating you guys pretty much as we figure it all out. I've done some research. I don't know if you have, how much research have you done into what you guys want to buy?
I basically Liz's cryptocurrency. Like, that's the research I've done, is I listened to her talk about that, and I thought, yeah, that's the one for me.
So Adam's all in on Steven Seagal?
I think that the strategy I've developed now is which coins have hilarious brand ambassadors, and I'll be implementing that strategy.
Liz?
No research. No, as I said, I kind of want to just do it and be like, oh, that looks cool, and then buy that, and then, yeah.
Okay.
and then weep.
And then sob uncontrollably as I lose.
Okay, so maybe I did too much research then. So I
You knew who you're like up against, right?
So previous listeners of our past podcast would know that we did a similar challenge with the share market in Australia. So we each played the ASX share market game, and we monitored our progress. We bought and sold shares and saw how we went, and we sucked.
We got the absolute piss beaten out of us by listeners, is what happened.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing a very similar thing. We're going to have a wildcard competitor who will also in the wings, I don't know what that means, but off in the wings, they'll be buying their own cryptocurrencies according to this same rule set.
Yeah, we're not going to tell you who it is.
Yes.
But his name rhymes with leaving legal.
Steven Seagal is...
we're keeping it anonymous, Marc. That's what we agreed
Bitcoin to Gem. We're like, what? They're buying a lot of Bitcoin to Gem. It's either Adam or it's our secret competitor.
Yeah, so
this segment brought to you by Steven Seagal.
So we promised him we would keep this anonymous.
Yes. Okay, so leaving legal. We'll be playing as our fourth competitor. So I've done a little bit of research. Before we delve into wallets, I've done a bit of research. So I'm going to...
college boy.
I'm going to put at least half of my cash into the established players.
Bitcoin.
Yep, so...
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're talking like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
Dogecoin.
the rest... I'm going to just
frivolous.
frivolously invest in whatever I think sounds cool at the time. So I don't know if Bitcoin to Gem will make that list. Steven Seagal in the past has been a proponent of combat walking sticks and energy drinks. So
both of which have been huge. Like,
very true.
really, I don't think you can even imagine the cultural zeitgeist without those things. So. He's called it perfectly in the past.
Yes.
I have a question. Are you going for Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash?
I'm going for Bitcoin, just plain old Bitcoin. So
good old classic Bitcoin.
Yeah. Is that what? Yeah. I suppose that's how it's referred to. But yeah, apparently regular stock...
I think the people on the inner circle call it classic Bitcoin.
Yeah. Those in the know.
Those in the know.
They don't call it original Bitcoin or Bitcoin... Vanilla?
Definitely classic. Vanilla.
Bitcoin OG, I think, is what they call it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Possibly. Yeah. I'm just trying to find out what Steven Seagal's energy drink is called.
Given props.
Lightning bolt. Yeah. So look.
So glad we took the time to find that
out. So apparently a regular stock portfolio is considered diversified when it has 25 stocks in it. I don't know. I don't know what that's going to.
Yeah.
I assume that's not based off $100 investment.
Yeah, probably not. But we're coming at a good time. So at the time of recording, the transaction fees for Bitcoin are a lot lower than what they were a couple months ago.
Okay.
So I mean, if I was to buy Bitcoin a couple months ago, I think I would have just spent $40 on just transaction fees.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my kind of plan.
Cool. Yeah, well, you've heard ours.
The no plan.
Yeah.
That's not no plan. It's a very definite plan. It's just a stupid one.
So Liz.
Yes.
You're going to try and, because obviously we need to store these currencies somewhere.
Yes, that's what I've heard.
So every week we want to do some sort of experiment, right? We want to find out how all this cryptocurrency stuff works in the real world when you're really trying to use it. So as our inaugural experiment, basically we just want to see how difficult it is to actually sign up for a cryptocurrency wallet and have a place to store all your cryptocurrency, buy and sell, all that good stuff. And we thought, okay, who is the most technologically inept amongst us? And it's probably the person who took like 8 weeks to sell something on eBay. So
It was extremely stressful.
yeah, so we decided probably Liz. So
Okay, so
we're
I'm
going
going
to
to
make
see.
Liz right now try and sign up for
Yes.
Now,
cryptocurrency wallet.
I've heard a few things about how complicated the process is. So, okay, oh, these are all hardware wallets.
Yes, if you click that bad boy.
Okay,
Do you have to have a hardware wallet at
desktop
all?
wallets. Oh, a blockchain wallet. Designed for a competitive blend.
Ooh, I like
Ooh.
that.
Multi-currency. Jax. That sounds great. I'm going to go with Jax.
Because you like the name.
Yeah.
And that, my
Here
friends,
we go. Oh, it
best
says it's the,
Bitcoin wallet.
you know what? It says it's the best, so I'm feeling pretty confident.
Okay, but what currencies?
Oh, it was cute. You know what? I am feeling confident. It was created by the Ethereum co-founder.
Oh,
Oh, how do you like that?
I know.
and what cryptocurrencies does it store?
Features.
Liz doesn't care.
At this point,
Does it hold bit?
Oh, you know
Gen?
what? Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, Litecoin, Dash, Zcash, and a long list of other blockchain assets. So
Well,
they have to be
it's a
built on the
long
blockchain.
list. That's
Okay.
all you care.
Okay.
That's all you,
So
matters.
I will click download.
Is that a squid? One of those things? Does it hold squid?
Oh,
Squid
here we
coin?
go. Is this a Mac? Yes. Oh, there's a Chrome extension. This is all looking great. I wonder how long it takes to download.
Hopefully,
Like,
Yeah, because it'll make for compelling TV if it's like an hour or so.
it's like, oh dear. Where is it downloading?
oh, okay,
Oh,
it is
here we go.
downloading, yep.
All right, we're cool. We're cool. We're good.
How long does it have left to download?
So
It
it's
has
what?
finished.
Oh, how about that?
I've lost my
Already
mouse.
done.
All right, cool. I'm impressed with the speed. I actually thought a wallet would actually take up a lot more space on the computer. Here we go.
Okay, so Liz is opening it now for the very first time, and we'll see like how
Verifying.
this thing actually works.
Open. Oh, okay. I've set it up.
It was that easy.
Yeah.
Can we pull it over to the other screen yet? So that
I
people
don't
can
know
see
if
the
I can
interface?
do applications.
I cannot,
was
but I
trying
can.
before, yeah.
Ah.
do this.
That's your QR code. Is that like
Yeah. So
secure?
The other people are
I'm
like
just-
scanning that right now, and you're
I'm
losing
pretty
your
surprised
zero
it was that
Bitcoin you
easy.
have.
I heard it was a super convoluted process that you had to verify yourself. But
Take a look at this. So, what tells people? Okay, so you've got a Bitcoin address.
wow. So you can receive, exchange, send.
You
I've got
didn't
my
have to put
transaction
in
history.
any personal information about that, did you?
No.
Not one bit.
No.
Like there wasn't. It never asked even your name, did it?
Nope.
So that's your
The
address.
funny thing is, this isn't even my computer. So I just
That's
downloaded.
crazy.
Wow.
That's crazy. It didn't need to know anything about you at all.
No,
Wow.
I know. And now I'm one step ahead of you guys because I got a wallet.
Well, on someone else's computer.
That was actually extremely easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose that's the whole benefit of a cryptocurrency is that it's decentralized.
It's supposed to be. Yeah.
There's no regulation. Well, there's not
and it's
as much.
and it's anonymous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be anonymous. So, I guess it makes sense.
So we'll put up that address for all to see, so that they can send this anonymous laptops.
If anyone wants to
Bitcoin.
send me some Bitcoin, like, that's fine. I've got a wallet now, so
Please
I'll
keep it.
send you my Jax wallet.
With QR code.
Yeah, I'll send you my QR code.
Or you can just look at.
Oh, so that's your
Liz's QR
Bitcoin
code.
address.
You can look
I'll
at
send you
Liz's
my
QR
Bitcoin
code
address.
off the screen and just rob her blind. If you want to.
Yeah, of my 0 Bitcoins.
That's right.
Okay, well, obviously we're going to need to come back to the drawing board to actually buy these cryptocurrencies. We're going to need to know exactly which ones we want to invest in and why, trade in and why. So
By next week, we'll all have wallets set up, and we'll get ourselves ready, and we'll sit here and we'll try. We'll see how much more difficult it is to actually purchase cryptocurrency than it is to just set up a wallet.
yeah, that's right.
Because setting up a wallet was surprisingly easy.
Surprisingly, yeah.
But yeah, so thank you everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back again next week for another awesome episode with another cool guest. We're speaking to Michael. We've spoken to Michael Dunworth from Wire. We basically just asked him a barrage of cool questions.
The first place my mind went, I don't know why, when you said another cool guest is Alf. Alf is coming on the show. But then I realized we don't have enough graphics cards to even find out if he exists. So.
Yeah, but is he involved in cryptocurrency?
We don't know. We don't have the graphics cards to reach out to him.
But we'll hopefully have some next week.
Yeah. And you know what?
We'll contact him.
We'll try and get him on the show. We'll try and get Alf on for you guys.
Yeah.
Just for you guys.
And while we're at it, we'll put another
bad.
pulse signal from SETI out there just to see if there are any aliens listening, if they haven't been offended by this show. But thank you again for listening, and we'll catch you again later.
Thanks for listening to HODL That Thought. We'll be back next week if cryptocurrencies are still a thing. Make sure you head over to finder.com/HODL-that-thought to find the show notes for this episode and more great episodes. We're focused on providing information and entertainment. We're not a securities dealer and we're not encouraging you to trade. Cryptocurrencies are volatile and unpredictable, so get advice rather than acting on anything we say. Read our disclaimer, understand our approach, and then sit back and enjoy our podcast. You might learn something. Stranger things have happened.